Today's dish, we're going to be doing a take on a cottage pie. We're not going to take basic beef mince because we don't do anything normally here at Fire Feast and Friends. So we're going to be slow braising down some ox cheek. We're also going to be roasting down low and slow some Jacob's ladder as well, which is that beautiful cut with that intermuscular fat that's going to render down through the meat. And a plethora of British vegetables, all in season, and then we're going to finish it at the end. We're going to make a little bit of a funky mash on the top as well. So we better get cooking. As I said in the intro, we're going to be using this incredible Jacob's ladder from Walter Rose & Son. This is Angus Hereford cross, absolutely amazing fat structure and intermuscular fat running through the beef. And it really is a special cut of meat. And you can see this intermuscular fat running through the meat, and all this fat's going to render down. Now, alongside of this, to even ramp up the flavour, we're going to use one of my favourite cuts of meat, which is really understated, and that's ox cheeks. These have this deep, beefy, umami flavour that come out, and we're going to cook these down in red wine. And when they come together, they're going to give little textures, differences throughout the dish. Now, putting these on is quite simple, and it's all about temperature with these. So we're cooking at 110 degrees on our Kamado, our big green egg. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off simply with some rapeseed oil over both of the cuts of meat. And we want to start the cooking process on these ox cheeks to start with before we get them into the braising liquor. And our Jacob's ladder. And the rapeseed oil there is to do one thing and one thing only, really. It's help transference of heat, but more importantly, it's about helping this salt to stick on it. So we're going to liberally cover these both in salt. And this is the main part of seasoning on this dish. So don't be afraid of it. Turn it over, even on the bones, because that's going to help pull out that moisture and those proteins inside the meat that are going to caramelise and create the Maillard reaction. Once we've got them both seasoned up really well, we're going to simply pop them both in. Now, Jacob's ladder of this size, as I say, we cook to temperature, not time. And we're looking to take this up to about 87 degrees, and then with resting, it's going to go up to about 93. The ox cheeks, we're literally going to put them in next to it and just give them a couple of hours before we add them and start them braising. So it starts that breaking down of that intermuscular fat, because there's a lot of it in an ox cheek. They're going to sit there, and the Jacob's ladder is going to cook for probably about 8 hours. Whilst that's cooking, we're going to build around the dish and create the rest of this cottage pie. So now we want to create the base, the foundation of what our cottage pie is going to have inside it. And we're going to go for a mirepoix, as we call it in the trade, or just a rough cut of some vegetables, but I'm actually going to leave them even bigger because I want these vegetables to cook slowly and over a long period of time as soon as that ox cheek goes into the pot. So we've got carrots, leek, we've got a bit of celeriac, we've got some courgette, some shallots here, and then we've got an array of some little chestnut mushrooms, we've got some king oyster and some oyster mushrooms. That's going to be our foundation, and I'm going to leave these quite big and chunky. So we've chopped down all our vegetables. We've got our carrots, our leeks, our courgettes, we've got the mushrooms, the shallots, and we've also got the celeriac in there. Now what I have done is I've just washed these veg, I haven't peeled them. The carrots are absolutely fine, left the stalk tops on, but you can see that we've left them pretty chunky, and I want that because otherwise they're going to cook down to nothing. And what we now need to do is we need to sweat all of these down before we put our ox cheek in. So what we're going to do is we're going to get these into our decent sized casserole dish, and this is going to go into the Kamado next to the beef while it's cooking down, because it's about letting that one piece of equipment do it. This is what's great about a Kamado. They do everything for you. So we're literally going to get all of these in. There's a little bit of rapeseed oil in the bottom, and I'm going to add some butter. It's quite a lot of veg, but this will cook down massively. And this is almost like a lazy style of cookery. It's quite simple. A little bit of salt. That's right, so all I'm going to do now is I've got my vegetables. I'm going to pop that straight into the Kamado and leave it to render down and cook. It looks pretty incredible already, but when it all comes together, it'll taste amazing. I can put my feet up now.
No, you can't.
Now we want to start our topping for the top of our cottage pie. And if you remember from childhood, you had this mashed potato on the top, which was all creamy and smooth and nice. I want to jazz that up a little bit. I want to ramp that up and give that a little bit more character. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix in with some beautiful red Desiree Cornish potatoes. We're going to go in with some sweet potato and some parsnip, because then you get this sweetness that comes through and cuts through the saltiness with the beef and all the other things. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the kamado do the work again. So we're just going to drizzle them with some rapeseed oil. And the best way to make mash, I mean, you ask chefs this, lots of chefs do this in restaurants, is to bake your potatoes. So by baking our potatoes, what that's going to do is going to create this incredible crispy skin, but we're then going to cut them in half and scoop, nearly lost one, and scoop the insides out. But by rubbing it with a little bit of oil first, it helps crisp the outsides up, because I don't want to waste anything here. I want to keep the skin. So once we've scooped them out, we're going to pop those skins back in and let them crunch up. And we're going to use those as a little crunchy topping on the top when it's all finished. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Now that's a pretty impressive looking barbecue. Now, one of the most important things to emphasize on here is that we are cooking indirect. This is not direct cooking, this is all indirect. So if we were doing this in, for example, a kettle barbecue, what we do is we'd aim all our coals to one side, and then we'd use that indirect area. Now it's going to be a bit of a squeeze. We're very fortunate here at Five Feast and Friends because we've got an extra large big green egg, so we can get everything in. But what we need to make sure we do is the emphasis is on everything's cooking in that one barbecue. Yeah, and yes, you can do this in a kamado. It's the best probably option for this, but it doesn't mean you can't do it on a kettle barbecue. You know, it's being versatile enough to be able to do it anywhere. Okay, our beef cheeks now have had about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Our vegetables have been in there sweating down as well inside their own juices in this pot. We're going to take those out now and combine the two. And then we're going to bring in some good beef stock and some red wine. And this is quite an important stage because this is going to start that stewing process to bring this down, ready to make this incredible gravy and get all these flavours coming out these beef cheeks. We want these falling apart. Let's grab our beef cheeks. And these are looking absolutely incredible. You can see in the background the Jacob's ladder is just starting to shrink away from the bones. And this is looking insane now, looking really, really good. This is going to be an incredible bit of meat. And our potatoes and our parsnips ready to make that mashed potato, and our sweet potatoes are all sort of like starting to shrivel up. They're nearly there, so in a minute we can get that prepped up as well. They have stewed down absolutely incredibly. So the beef cheeks are looking incredible already on their own, and these would be a great standalone dish. But we're going to cut these up a little bit smaller now. They're still hot. Quickly get them into our vegetables and get those back into the egg with some liquid. And they're already tender. And the beautiful thing with them is you've got this incredible smoke ring. So this is just all layers of flavour that is going to go into our cottage pie. And again, I'm leaving this quite big because these are going to break down on their own anyway. There we go. So we've got our beef cheeks in there. Give it a quick mix around, get some of those veggies up the top. Now at this stage as well, we're going to add something else, which I quite like in my stews and my casseroles, and that's some pearl barley. This just soaks up all that flavour and come out and be absolutely incredible. So I'm going to sprinkle in some pearl barley. We've got some butter beans as well. And we've got just some frozen peas. Pierre said about 15 minutes ago, I think you could have used a bigger pot. I think he might be right, but we'll be okay.
Could tell you.
Luna's liking it because stuff's falling on the floor. So we're now going to come in with some beef stock. And a good glug of red wine. Now, in essence, we've got a stew or a casserole here that we're going to finish off. But this is what's going to make this into the ultimate cottage pie. But what we want to do now is we want to leave the lid off when we go back into the kamado. We want these juices to help reduce, go down, evaporate and reduce maybe by half. So as it comes down, the juices from the cheeks will come out and it'll all start to break down, okay? So we're just going to open up our kamado, move around our potatoes, back on with this. I'm going to close that up and leave it to do its thing. And we'll see it now in about 4 hours. the next stage, there's quite a few stages in this dish, of our cottage pie, where we're going to take out our potatoes, our parsnips and our sweet potatoes that we've roasted off inside the kamado. And we're going to scoop those out, keeping the skins, remember, because we're going to do something fun with those. Okay, so I've done all the hard work. I've scooped all the potatoes, all the sweet potatoes and the parsnips, and now I'm going to put some butter through it, but I'm going to leave it, as I said, chunky. I don't want to break this down to a puree. So we've just got half a pack of butter going in here. And I'm just working this in with a fork and allowing the potatoes and everything. I mean, the sweet potatoes are the softest, and I'm leaving the parts of the parsnip in there. But I don't want to make it into one colour. I want to leave those different colours. As I said, rustic. This is what we're looking for. So, we've got our potatoes, but we haven't got rid of any of these skins, okay? Now what we want to do is we want to give these a little bit of help because we want these to crisp up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them on my board. I'm going to get a little bit of rapeseed oil, dress them with a little bit of oil, season it up, toss these around, and you've got bits of parsnip here, sweet potato, the Cornish red potatoes. We're going to open up the egg. Look at that beef. We're going to come across with our skins. Put those in there. We're going to leave them for probably, oh, forgot one. We're going to leave those for probably 10, 15 minutes. We're going to take them off, put them to one side on a tray so they've crisped up and they've got like little crisps. And we're going to finish off the top of the dish and do something quite exciting with those. The Jacob's ladder has now been in for about 5 hours and is hitting temperature. We've had about 15, 20 minutes on our skins, which we're going to have a look at now as well. And also our cheeks are starting to break down inside our actual cottage pie mix. So let's go over and have a look. Wow. I think you can agree that's looking pretty insane. And these have really crisped up. They've all got that lovely bit of snap. There's a bit of char on them. And they're looking, that's what we're looking for. So what I'm going to do, grab a pair of tongs. I'm going to take off the skins. These are like the ultimate vegetable crisps. And they will have taken on the flavour from that beef because they've been nestled up against it. Our actual mixture itself inside our pot is looking quite insane. We give this a stir. You can see how all the vegetables, our butter beans, the mushrooms are all starting to break down. And that, well, the cheek is just falling apart now. Wow. So this is pretty much ready now. So what we can do now is we want to now look at building this. So we can put this over to one side. But let's take a look at our Jacob's ladder because we want to finish this dish with that standout piece of meat. Let's lift it out. Look at that piece of meat. Now we've held temperature all day at about 110 degrees. And what we're looking for is temperature, not time, especially with a cut of meat like this. So we're looking for low 90s. So 93 there. I mean, you can see how easy and effortless this probe is diving in. So we're looking at an average temperature of about 93.5 degrees. These ribs, look how cleanly they're coming away. What we're going to do is we're going to remove enough off to create our ultimate cottage pie. You can retain this and use this for other dishes. It freezes down perfectly. You can use it through other dishes and put it in, but don't let it go to waste. It's just better to cook it as a whole. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to probably take off a bone and show you the inside. And it's just falling off. And look at the moisture through that joint. That is just insane. We've got the smoke ring around the outside. And look at the moisture in that meat. It's absolutely incredible. This is why we wanted to include this in this ultimate dish. We've taken away the rest. We've left ourselves with one of the ribs. We're going to carve this up and place this in the bottom of the dish. We're going to layer it up with the beef cheek. Layer it up with the beef cheek, top it with our potatoes and our vegetable skins that have crisped up. And then we're just going to finish it off in the egg or the kamado until it just bubbles up and some of those potatoes and sweet potatoes take on the flavour. I mean, the moisture in this Jacob's ladder is just next level. Layer this up in the bottom of our dish.
You're leaving it in like quite large chunks there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want it to. It's going to break down even further as soon as the moisture sits on top of it, and as the rest of it, you'll see in a second, as it sits down on top, it's going to look quite special. On with our topping. And I've tasted this already for seasoning. It's seasoned perfectly. Doesn't need anything more with it. Remember, we've got the texture running through our root vegetables, so our potatoes, our sweet potato, our parsnips in there as well. And I don't care if I see some of the meat showing through. For me, that's part of the surprise. And then when I've got our lovely little root vegetable crisps, we'll poke these in. Now we've got plenty here, so we might just serve some to the side. This is going to create texture. We're going to put this in now into the big green egg and leave this for probably 25-30 minutes because most of the cooking's done. Okay, and this is our ultimate cottage pie finished. We've got the incredible root veg crush on top of it. We've got the beef cheeks, we've got the Jacob's ladder through there and all the vegetables that have cooked, and we've cooked it all inside the Kamado. As I say, so it's taken on that incredible smoky flavour, and it's a thing of beauty, finishing it off with like the crispy skin and stuff like that to add texture. What I love about this dish is the fact that it is a feast in one dish, and it is absolutely incredible. So let's plate some up and have a look. Make sure we get right down to the bottom to get some of that Jacob's ladder that it all sat on top of. Some of the beef cheek and the vegetables. And there we have it, guys. Our ultimate cottage pie. So if you want to see more recipes like this, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.